When it comes to the finishing stripes and letters on the Smith spreader, I have visited by email with Jeff Marshall a little bit, and there's a bit of a ongoing discussion of what was original, because there are some variations in the striping patterns from the color advertisings and the black and white photos that he has sent. And he has kind of been in a quandary as what is correct also. And he decided to go on his restoration project of the 100 bushel spreader to more of the pattern that was from the colored advertisements. And I'm going to do maybe a combination of both. I really don't know what is right. He doesn't really know what is right either. But one thing that seems to be somewhat common between the black and white pictures is this yellow stripe on the spokes coming out of the hub. So that seems to be kind of a common ground. So something like so. You know, this is something that I don't do a lot of. There has been times that I have spent hours and hours and hours finishing Yellowstone Park coaches. The striping pattern on those are just phenomenally elaborate. This I don't think is going to be quite so elaborate. It is a pretty bold stripe, this bright yellow on top of this red. One thing about hand striping, nothing is computer perfect. There's always little variations from stripe to stripe. Actually, what I use is called a dagger brush. Made me jump when that Harley started up out there. Something like so. So probably kind of similar on the front, probably just not quite as long as Starburst. Well, most oftentimes there is some type of a stripe on the outside edge of these fellow sections. Now Jeff doesn't show anything on his, and some of those black and whites are a little bit tough to tell. But since it is a pretty customary stripe, I'm going to try to put this on here. Normally I use a bugler striper for these. This time I'm actually just going to try to use my dagger brush and see if I can't put this stripe on. May have to adjust my light a little bit. Got a little bit of a shadow here. Now, if you were doing this in the automotive realm, you would have a little decal stripe that you could just stick on and make a nice straight line and everything would be perfect. But that's not what was happening back in the carriage trade. These were hand painted, just like I'm doing now. You know, it's very often times that you hear these stripes called pinstripes, but they actually are not pinstripes. They're in the old literature, they're referred to as either stripes or lines. And, you know, it's something that we have been reminded over the years that pinstripes belong on a suit, not on a carriage. This is one aspect of the carriage trade that really did involve a very specialized, skilled worker called a striper. And that was his expertise. And it's kind of like cooking pancakes. You know, it's the first few pancakes that are a little rough. You don't really have the batter right, and the temperature of the grill isn't quite right. But by the time you get down to the last 3 or 4 pancakes and everything is leveled out, things start to look pretty good. Well, it's kind of like that in striping. The more you do, the better you get. And for me, when there's a long time frame that goes between the times that I get to stripe or letter, I kind of got to brush back up again and hone my skills a little bit. But that's just, like I said before, it's one of the things about hand striping, that nothing is perfect, and little variations is actually what adds to the value of a hand stripe. Well, on these two side panels, there's a heavy black stripe and then a lighter yellow stripe, kind of a borderline stripe. So I need to get this rod out of the way. Well, I'm going to let dry what I've got done. It allows me the opportunity to come back and clean things up and, maybe straighten some lines out, but I like it dry so that I don't get too far ahead of myself and maybe bump into something. It's just as safer for me to do things step by step, increment by increment. It's kind of challenging. I don't know that I'm quite as steady as I was 25, 30 years ago. I do enjoy doing it. My eyes maybe aren't quite as good as they used to be, but we'll pick away at it. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.